The honourable member for Fowler.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I suppose I'd like to thank the Minister for allowing me to have the conversation around the Housing Australia Future Fund bill.
I'll just get sorry to interrupt the member Fowler. Just get her to move her amendment.
I moved my amendment circulated in my name. Thank you.
Continue.
As I mentioned, I thank the Minister for giving me the opportunity to talk with her about this bill in particular, and I had hoped that the request to have the review period shortened would have been taken on board. This amendment to the Housing Australia Future Fund bill is to ensure there is a timely review process in which we should be able to see the effectiveness of the bill in 2 years, not 5 years. Not every piece of legislation is perfect, and sometimes we get the processes wrong. I thank Power Housing Australia, the St George Community Housing, Hume Housing and Evolve Housing in their consultation with me on the bill. As Power Housing and Evolve Housing have rightly pointed out, housing funds can get misappropriated and used for the wrong reasons. They pointed towards the National Rental Affordability Scheme, which was aimed at mum and dad investors, however, was ultimately taken advantage of by private developing companies. And due to the loopholes, the scheme has gained a bad reputation when it really needed adjusting so it could ultimately benefit the most needy and vulnerable while supporting mum and dad's investors. While the scheme wasn't perfect, the end of this scheme could mean 36,000 houses will no longer provide subsidised rent for tenants and will most likely be sold or rented out at a high price. This will result in 36,000 families who could be left out in a lurch. I want to reiterate that Evolve Housing told me in my consultation with them on this bill. They said, and I quote, "Even with the stars aligned and we miraculously get these 30,000 properties in the next 5 years, the net impact will be close to zero without the NRAS. This is just one example of poorly regulated policies from a decade ago that is impacting families today." In my conversations with the Urban Development Institute of Australia, they recommended a 1-year review process. However, after discussion with you, Minister, in your office, we believe this could be far too short. I completely appreciate it will take some time to set this fund up and have it ready for community housing providers to access. Yes, I agree we need housing solutions not just for now, but for the future. But we need to make sure we get this right before there are unintended consequences that could ultimately impact the most vulnerable in our communities. While I understand that these houses are very unlikely to be built within a 2-year period, we are talking about a huge sum of money, $10 billion, that the government is putting aside for this bill. It's only fair that we can closely analyse around the allocation of funds in the next 2 years, particularly if it's pertaining to grants and if there is ministerial direct discretion involved. A review after 5 years could see many things go wrong, and by that point, it'll be too late. Thank you.
The question is the amendments be disagreed to, and I give the call to the Minister for Small Business, Housing and Homelessness.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I want to indicate to the member for Fowler, as she has been advised, that we won't be supporting these amendments. There will be transparency around grants. There will be transparency around all of the things that Housing Australia fund. We have been pretty clear that we want to make sure that there are reports about what is being funded through the appropriations that will come or the disbursements that will come each year under the fund. I don't think that there's a need to be, reviewing it after 2 years. We do think that it needs time to be up and running, but there will be transparency along the way through Housing Australia publishing the list of where things are going, and through the government and relevant ministers also publishing it.